Hey there, I'm Ricky Jones of Leaders That Follow, and I wanted to share with you my latest haul. I love to read, as you could tell by the bookshelves behind me, and I usually don't buy new books. All the books that you'll see on the shelf back there, I buy at thrift stores. And so my latest haul went about a week and a half ago to the thrift store with my wife, and she usually sets a limit for me, say, oh, don't buy lots of books. I try to say, okay, I'm only gonna get one or two, and I always end up walking out with 2 bags of books. Same happened this time. I got 10 books that I want to show you today. Some you might be interested in, some might not interest you at all, but I like to read all different kinds of books. So first up, since this is the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, I picked up Gene Roddenberry, The Last Conversation. It's sort of a biography of Gene Roddenberry, a dialogue with the creator of Star Trek. And I never considered myself a Trekkie before, but just within this past year or so, I've been getting really into it. I've watched almost all of the old seasons of Star Trek, the original and all the spin-offs that came out of that. So I'm very big fan of Star Trek, and so I figured, why not read about the creator of Star Trek and see, what really inspired him to create Star Trek. And so that's the first book. Next one, Andrew Carnegie by David Nassau. Now this is a thick book. You could say I've never read a book this thick. This is over 800 pages, and it's the story of the life of Andrew Carnegie told in a more historical way, because there had been other biographies written on him before by people that he paid to write that biography, or his wife, and that way it would kind of shine a different kind of light on him, whereas this is more true to what his life really was like. And he's a very inspirational man. I don't know a lot about him, but I actually was turned on to this book by an article I read a couple of weeks ago talking about the downfall of liberal education and how a lot of people aren't willing to read as they did back in the day. And it was written by a professor who had actually given an assignment to his students to read this exact book, Andrew Carnegie, and he said, it was over 800 pages, and he didn't think that a lot of them were going to read it, but he was surprised when they came back and they had actually read the book. And so that was fresh in my mind when I was at the store and I saw it, so I picked it up. Next on the list, now don't laugh, Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I did like the first book, and I have read a couple of the books in the series. This, I believe, is number 3 in the series. I saw it, figured I'd pick it up. I'd like to have the whole series to be able to read it and see if it might be something I could share with my boys later on down the road. They're still little, but maybe as they get older, it'll be something I could share with them. Speaking of my boys, my wife and I are very much interested in homeschooling our children. We have a 4-year-old and one who's going to be 3 in a couple of months. So it's something we talked a lot about. We put a lot of thought into it, and we're preparing for that. It's a big challenge. I work at home, she's here with the kids, and we want to be able to homeschool them. So it's something that we're trying to prepare ourselves for, because it's a big undertaking. So I'm reading lots of books, and this is one that I just picked up, Home Educating with Confidence. This is by Rick and Marilyn Boyer. So anything I can find on homeschooling is definitely a benefit to me right now, because I want to be prepared, and I want to help prepare my wife for this big journey that we're about to undertake. Next up is A Child Called It, One Child's Courage to Survive by Dave Pelzer. And I've heard a lot about this book, but I've never actually read it. I know that it's a story of this little boy who basically went through a very traumatic experience, was abused as a child. They kept him in the basement and basically treated him like an animal. And he finally was able to get through it, and I don't know if he escaped or what happened, but he wrote the book, so he's obviously made it through. And this is his story. So I've heard a lot about it, and I wanted to give that one a try. This is the story. The Bible is one continuing story of God and his people. So it's kind of like a novelized version of the Bible. It goes through kind of the big highlights, the big main points of the Bible in a way that's more readable. As a computer program, I would say user-friendly. So it's something that people can just pick up and kind of read through and get a grasp for the totality of the Bible without necessarily having to read through the entire Bible. So this is not one I picked up this week, but I wanted to show you that because I found this one, which is the story for kids. And so this is a lot smaller, but again, it touches on, like it says here, discover the Bible from beginning to end. Selections from the New International Reader's Version. So it's something that kids can pick up just like a chapter book that they would normally read, but that touches on all those very important stories in salvation history. My wife and I have a lot of godchildren, a lot of people who, young kids or youth, who we want to be able to provide something like this to them. And this is the first time I had seen it. It looks interesting, and I'm going to try to hand it out to one of our godchildren and see how they like it. If it's something that they like, then I'll probably pass it on to more. In that same vein, I wanted to share a couple other books. The Lost Art of Disciple Making. Now here at Leaders That Follow, that's what we do, right? Making disciples and forming faithful leaders. Definitely excited to read that one. And this is another one that sounds very similar. Evangelism Outside the Box. New Ways to Help People Experience the Good News by Rick Richardson. Again, this is our mission as Christians, is to be able to share the good news with people, to invite them into a relationship with Jesus Christ. So, sounds like a good one. Another one that it kind of piqued my curiosity, The Grace of Great Things, Creativity and Innovation. So, I'm a creative person. My wife is a creative person. She does event planning and decorating and all kinds of stuff. I design websites and things like that. So creativity, innovation, something that it sounded interesting, so I picked it up. And lastly, I want to share with you a book that I've actually read before that I picked up on this haul, and that's Wild at Heart, Discovering the Secret of a Man's Soul. This is written by John Eldredge, who is seriously one of my favorite Christian authors. He has a way of getting to the soul. He touches your heart with the way he writes, and it's accessible, it's profound, it's powerful. I've read probably 4 or 5 of his books, and all of them I can say have been life-changing. This book, Wild at Heart, is a must-read for men. A lot of times guys struggle in their faith to live it out in practical ways, to really understand what it means to live in a relationship with God. This book explains what that's all about, explains what we've lost as men and how to gain it back. So I'd recommend this book. I've given it out to guys before. I've always had great feedback, and again, I myself have loved it. So I recommend this book, Wild at Heart, Discovering the Secret of a Man's Soul by John Eldredge. I'm going to put a link to this in the notes below, so check out below. You'll find a link to this where you can pick it up on Amazon. I can't reiterate enough how important this book is to the men in your life. Ladies, get it for your husband, for your father, for your brother. Guys, if you want to take seriously your relationship with God, you must pick up this book. So once again, Wild at Heart, Discovering the Secret of a Man's Soul by John Eldredge. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching. I hope this inspires you to want to go out and pick up some books to start reading. Maybe you're not a big reader, but reading is so important. Matthew Kelly says, books change our lives. We become the books we read. I'm going to continue to put together videos like this, showing you books that I'm picking up, books that I'm reading, books that I recommend. And I'm interested to hear what you think. If you've read any of these books, tell me about it. Tell me what you think. Or if there's a book that you'd like me to read and review and let you know, tell me in the comments. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day. Look for more at leadersthatfollow.com.